Stories don't have one way of being told. It's hard to communicate this to people outside the realm of creation and critique, so the best thing that can be done is to show rather than tell. A story doesn't have to begin or end to be good. The story doesn't have to tell the viewer all necessary information to be immersive. And stories don't have to directly address its main themes and ideas to be effective. Firewatch is one of these games. It's not a groundbreaking, amazing story-driven game, but for what it is, it's done well. The opening sequence already thrusts you into the mind of the main character, Henry, as you have to pick decisions made in situations from his past, even if you're only given one choice. You start off the game confused and almost annoyed at the main character for deciding to escape to the wilderness. That's what this game really is, an escape to the wilderness. In almost every way, the story you play through does not have anything to do with Henry's main conflict involving his wife, and yet it has everything to do with it. The fact that he's even there, when he could be by his wife's side, or when he could be figuring out what he should be doing with his life now, is exactly why this game's story works. The story contrasts Henry with the main antagonist of the story, who I won't be spoiling, that is in a similar situation as him. It puts forth a lot of thoughts for the player to explore, and you have a good amount of time to think through these ideas because of how the game is structured. You're placed in a small section of the wilderness that you can explore. You can find hidden cabins, boxes full of goodies, and other secrets to talk with your boss and friend, Delilah, about. This game gives you a bunch of stuff to do, and while you're out looking through the wilderness, you can mull over the things you've learned about Delilah and yourself. This game has a special way of just letting you exist in this small corner of the world without having to worry about the rest of the world. This feeling is exactly how Henry wants to feel by coming out there, and you can feel it all the same. I can't say the mystery wasn't at least predictable, but it served its purpose well in terms of drawing the main character's attention off of his own struggle for a while. Speaking of that, the unsung hero of this game is the dialogue between the two main characters, Henry and Delilah. The voice acting can be a bit too mellow at parts, but at the same time it makes it feel all the more real. I have met and understand people who act in this very low, monotone way, and to see it adapted this accurately is great. The banter between these two characters is so organic, and their lines are really creative, which shows that the writer understands their craft. I'm convinced that both of these characters could exist in real life, just as they are. The little jabs they make at each other, the funny character quirks that shine through purely through their dialogue, it's a joy to listen to. One stylistic choice that I noticed early on was the atmosphere of the world Henry existed in. For the player, we don't ever see another person. To us, aside from Delilah, Henry is alone from the start of the game to when he's picked up by the helicopter by the end. And the only exception to this, also, would be the girls at the lake, and they end up disappearing. There are many opportunities to see other people besides these characters in the game, but it forces Henry to be alone. Now this adds to the atmosphere, as Henry too feels alone now that the love of his life is essentially gone, lost herself in her dementia. This story really pushes a philosophical dilemma for the player to resolve at the start of the story that stuck with me. Should Henry stay by his wife's side even though she is now, in Henry's view essentially, a shell of her former self? Or should Henry keep his distance and try to move on from her? The second option is obviously a lot more selfish, but the story presents this and it's hard to immediately write off either one. All of this adds to the game's story. The lonely atmosphere, the antagonist playing on the protagonist's weaknesses, the philosophical dilemma, everything is well crafted. Though Firewatch is not the pinnacle of video game storytelling, it serves as a good benchmark for those looking to see what the medium can do. Some video games try to imitate movies or TV shows, and others try to imitate books, but Firewatch shows the player a nice spin on how to portray a story. The gameplay and setting mimicking how the character feels in his life, while the antagonist serves as a path that Henry could stumble onto. Indie games really are going strong in the last couple of years, always pushing the medium forward. Firewatch is no exception. Firewatch really is a perfect example of the art of video game storytelling.